is over what? The law of sines. So you know you're going to have to do the law of sines tomorrow. Now, that ties in beautifully with what what we're about to do here. So let's look at the next page of our notes, the next problem. So we're just on the back of page 7. And it says solve triangle ABC, or CHS. Well, shoot, we've done this before. Look at them coming in.
Look at me. Get him. Hey, boy, that's a hundred.
All right.
They sell Kleenexes in the spirit shop.
We always need Kleenex. We always have. Okay.
Is there a sum of money that I can
Take a
pay?
bug.
You go to the bookstore and buy a box of Kleenex. I don't have a
Thanks, you can pay me 5 and you can use one of my boxes.
They're $4 at the spirit shop.
A box of Kleenex is $4.
That's more than gas.
Okay, do not go to the spirit shop and buy the Kleenex. Go to Walmart.
I get them even at the spirit shop.
Let's go.
Alright, next time I'm late, that one box
It'll
comes.
be up there just for one day, because tomorrow you're gonna bring it.
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right, now, here we go. Solve the triangle. This is just like what we've been doing. So what are we trained to do? When we have a triangle, it's not a right triangle. I mean, I suppose it could be, but we don't know that. So we can't like jump in thinking it's going to be a right triangle. So what do we jump in doing? We can't use anything associated with right triangles. We use the law of sines. Okay? Now I want you to look at this and I want you to tell me if you observe anything about that.
There's no angles.
Bingo, which in and of itself isn't a problem. The problem is, you know how when we get started, we like to circle the pairing that we have? We don't have that here. You could set up the law of sines, but this is what it would look like, for example. Sine H over 7 equals sine S over 12. Is that true?
Yeah,
What's the matter with it?
no angles.
Well, too many variables. Can't solve it. It's got too many variables in it. So, I told you the other day, and I mean it, I'll stick by it, the law of sines is true in every triangle. This is absolutely a true statement. The problem is, it's not solvable in some triangles. So, if you can't solve the law of sines, and again, if you're going to use the law of sines, what you want to have is something like this. That's what you need if you're going to use the law of sines. If you don't have that, then you're not doing the law of sines. Instead, we're going to do the law of cosines. All right? So here's how this works. The law of cosines is much tougher to memorize than the law of sines, but it's very easy to use. So let me show you. If I'm going to do this problem with the law of cosines, this is what I'm going to write. So why don't you just go ahead and write this down, and then we're going to talk about how the law of cosines works. You're looking at this and thinking, oh my gosh, Mrs. Ford, I will never get this. I promise you in about 5 minutes, you're going to be whipping through them.
Are we going to be able to put that on the
No, you won't need to.
Oh, no.
It's going to be harder to put it on a note card than it is just to learn the pattern. So, write that down. 7 squared equals 12 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 12 times 14 times the cosine of h. Now, when you look at what I wrote, there's only one number on this side of the equation, and there's only one angle in the whole problem. Notice that the side that's over here all by itself is the match to the angle that's in the problem. See that? So I just picked H, but what if I picked C? Well, then it would be 14 squared equals 12 squared plus 7 squared minus 2, 12, 7 cosine C. So first thing we notice is there's one side that's over here by itself. Whatever that side is, that's the angle in the problem. Now, what's all this other stuff in the middle? Well, let's go back to my first example. See all this stuff? Isn't it all just 12s and 14s?
Yeah.
And here it's all 12s and 7s? So the idea is identify which angle you're going to use. So we haven't done S yet. Let's do S.
So it's gonna be 7.
So it's going to be 12 squared. If I'm doing angle S, it's going to be 12 squared equals what? 12 squared equals what? 7 squared plus 14 squared. The other two sides? So 7 squared plus 14 squared minus 2. Now that is part of the formula. That 2 didn't come from the triangle. It's always there. Times 7 times 14 times cosine of the angle that goes with the 12, which is S. Now, any of those would work. You're not going to do all three of them. I guess you could, but we're probably not going to. Any of those would work. Mikey?
So this is plating, the S1, does the placement of the 12 and the 7 and the 14 matter?
Now, the 12 matters,
But the 7 and the 14
but the 7 and the 14 doesn't matter. They can go anywhere. You're gonna, whatever angle you're using, you're gonna put that side right here. And then it's gonna be the other two sides. All this is the other two sides in any order. Okay? So one more time. Any of these would work. I'm gonna erase these bottom two and just solve the first one, but any of them are fine. One letter over here by itself, or one number over here by itself, and it matches the angle you're using. So I decided I was gonna do H. So that meant this had to be 7 squared. Does everybody understand that? So the bookend. Then everything in the middle is the other side squared plus the other side squared minus 2 times side. That's it. All right, we'll do some more, but let's go ahead and see how this works in terms of solving it. All right, so I picked just the top one. Again, you could do them all. And they see if you were looking at a textbook at the law of cosines, it would have all 3 lines written. It's just a mess. So I want you to just try to understand the pattern.
So we can use either one. Right?
You can use any of those that I erased, any of them.
So,
And just wait, you're gonna see something really cool here in a minute. You have to pick one. So you look at this problem and you say, I wanna do angle S. Great. If you're doing angle S though, you're writing 12 squared equals 7 squared plus 14 squared minus 2, 7, 14 cosine S. Because you picked angle S and put 12 over here. Okay? And then in the middle is just, you picked S, so this one was over here, and then the other two sides. All that's just the other two sides.
so we only use this when we have all the sides in there.
You use this whenever you don't have that pair I talked about. So there will be another kind of triangle where that happens. But the key is if you do not, like if I knew this was 32, I'd be using the law of sines. But I don't know what that is, so I don't have I can't build my fraction. Okay? All right, now how does this solve? Well, you might imagine, the first thing I would suggest you do, especially since we're just beginning, is let's work all this out. So 49 equals 144. I'm just squaring these, and you got a calculator. I have some of them memorized. 196. 2 times 12 times 14 336 cosine 8. So the first thing you do is just do the arithmetic. 49, 144, 196, and then I times all this together. That makes sense to you? Okay, now, I'm gonna go ahead and add these two together. So I have 49 equals 144 plus 196. That makes 340 minus 336 cosine 8. Now, some of you might be thinking about subtracting these. Why can't we do that? Because 336 is part of a cosine expression. These are not like terms. Shoot, where do I go from here then? Subtract 340 from both sides? That's what you want to do. So over here you're going to have negative 336 cosine 8. And over here we're going to have negative 291. So we have negative 291 equal to negative 336 cosine 8. Now what? Divide by 336. So we have 291 over 336 equal to cosine, equals cosine 8. So now we're going to second cosine that fraction. Macy?
Why don't you divide the whole thing by
This is my variable, Macy. I got it. That's what I'm trying to get by itself. That's my variable.
Okay.
It's like having an equation like 2 equals 4x. What would you divide by? Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Same thing. So second cosine 291 divided by 336. Did you get 29.99?
Yeah.
Now, this is a big problem. I'm going to have to do some erasing. So before I do that, I want to go back and make sure everybody's up with us. This is our first problem. We got a ton more to practice. Don't panic, but try to have some sense of what we're doing here. So the first thing we did was notice we don't have a pair. We couldn't do the law signs. So we randomly picked H. So this is the law cosine. We wrote it out. Now, how did we solve that? We simplified each of these numbers, right? These two we added. They can be added. But then we had to take that answer we got when we added those and subtract it over to the other side. Once we did that, then we could divide by the negative 336. And then we second cosine, because that's what we do when the letter comes after the cosine. Right? Okay, we're not done. I want you to look at the problem now, Jalen. Not if we're going to the nearest hundredth, we can't, because it's 994. So not if we're rounding, not if we're going to the nearest hundredth. All right, now check out what we've got now, kids. See this?
Wow, it's lost.
So remember how I said we had all these versions and we could do any of them? That's still true. So if you love the law of cosines, write another one down and jump in and do it. But if you'd rather, now you have a set. So now we can jump in, Macy.
How do you know which will be long cosine?
Okay, I've said this a couple times, let me say it again. When you draw your picture, look at your picture. If you have this angle side, pair, law signs. In the beginning, we did not have this. In the beginning, all we had were those. We did not have a pair. If you don't have a pair, you can't do the law of signs. That means you're gonna do the law of cosines. Now, once I've done my law of cosines, now I have a pair, so I can say sine 29.99 over 7, that's my pair, equals, I don't know, sine S over 12, or I could say sine C over 14, it doesn't matter. Now we should all know what to do at this point, right? What's the matter?
No.
What are you going with this?
Huh?
Stop making motions, it makes me nervous.
Sorry.
It
Okay.
makes me nervous.
So now what do we do here? We'll cross multiply. So 12 sine 29.99 equals 7 sine S. It's just like what we did earlier. And we'll divide by 7. And then we will, what? Because we've got sine S here, so now we have to second sine 12 sine 29.99, close parentheses, divided by 7. I got 58.97. Double check that for me. Everybody else get that? Now what's the good news? Now what's the good news?
We can add the middle to
We got
equal
2
180.
angles, so now we'll just add those up. And subtract from 180. And this one is 91.04. Lauren, what was your question? And that happens, and actually, that is better than what I did because you have no round off. When I use this number right here, I have some round off. So when I grade your paper and I see that work, that's gonna be okay.
Okay.
It's gonna be better than okay. It's gonna be awesome.
We can just do the law of cosine.
Yep, you can do the law of cosines over and over. Now, you know how it takes a pair to do the law of sines? Well, it takes some pretty specific information to do the law of cosines too. So there might be times you say, oh, I'm gonna use the law of cosines. But when you set it up, maybe you'll have too many variables in here, and that means you're not gonna use law of sines. Okay? So we really need both of them. You guys are like wild animals. What is wrong with you? Okay. So we got through our first law of cosines problem. What happens tomorrow? Over law of sines. Right.